My name is Mackenzie. I am a practitioner with Mind Change, and I had heard about this book club that you guys had done, and so I wanted to find out more. Could you tell us your name and where you're from?
Okay. My name is Brenda Tillman, and I live here in Texas in a little community called Pflugerville.
Nice.
And I've just been here for a while.
Yeah.
Almost 20 years.
Wow, okay. 20 years. And how did you end up being a part of this book club?
You know, I was trying to think of that this morning.
Yeah.
And I really don't remember
Okay.
how I heard about the book.
Yeah.
But I heard about the book club.
Yeah.
And it was during the pandemic. And I remember thinking, oh, that sounds like a great idea.
Yeah.
So I decided to become a part of the group.
Yeah. And how did you guys do it? Would you read like a chapter and then talk about it through Zoom, or how did you guys kind of format that?
Right. We did. We read a chapter a week and we talked about it over Zoom.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really fun though. As a matter of fact, I was thinking that I don't know that I would have picked the book up or even read the book had it not been a group thing.
Yeah.
I think being in the group made it that much more interesting.
Yeah.
Because other people have opinions and, they have things that I don't, get to have. And so that was it.
Yeah. Did you find too that there were different, like you were saying, different perspectives that people offered that kind of made you think about things in a different way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, we're all so different. We all come from different backgrounds. And just knowing that there's just a different perspective.
Yeah.
Things that I wouldn't ordinarily think of, somebody else does. It just kind of keeps the wheels going.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have it like that.
Do you remember when you were reading one of the first things that just like struck you as being like a little bit different, like maybe challenged the way that you had understood something before?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
almost the very first chapter in talking about the brain, and the subconscious.
Yeah.
And, these aren't things that, I'm like 72 years old.
Yeah.
When I was going to school, who knew as much about the brain as we know now?
Right. Right.
And science has never been a real big interest either. So I just remember thinking like, wow. It became interesting. The way it was written, it made it interesting. It made me want to know more.
Yeah.
It made me want to read more. And funny story, I took my grandsons to lunch one Saturday afternoon, and I thought, oh boy, I've got this exciting thing to share with them, that the brain, that we have 400 billion bits of information, every second, and I thought that was just so cool. Well, my 10-year-old already knew it, so like, oh, well, okay, they're way ahead of me, so I'm thinking, okay, they've got a great head start, because I didn't even have this information, before reading Mind Change, because it wasn't something that, particularly interested me, or who goes around reading stuff about the brain, like, not me anyway.
Yeah.
So it was,
And was it, because we were talking about this a little bit before, some of the other women and I, about how like it's such interesting information, but they had such shifts in their lives, such changes in their lives, as they started to not just have the information, but like put these tools with it, that it was really practical, and put it into practice. And like huge changes started to happen for them. Was there a particular tool or practice that you found to be really helpful to you?
Yeah, quite a few. As a matter of fact, the first thing that comes to my mind is the fact that I'm doing it to myself. That particular statement. It was kind of like, it was powerful, but at the same time, I remember thinking, I'm doing it to myself. And actually, that was good news to me, because if you think about it, if you're doing it to yourself, then you can stop doing it.
Right.
It's like I remember writing that sentence out, like, I am doing it to myself. And then I wrote it again, but I emphasized each word. And then I wrote, I am doing it to myself.
Oh.
Then I am doing it to myself, And with each question, though, it's like, with each statement, a question came up. So it's kind of like, okay, so how are you doing it to yourself? The next one. So it's like, I am the one that's doing it,
Yeah.
Anyway, it was like, it just made for an interesting, we had not much to do during the pandemic, right?
Right. A really great opportunity to get to read something new and to put it into practice. Yeah.
And another thing was just that it made me pay more attention to my thoughts than I ever had at any point, in my whole being. It's like really, really listening to me. And also, I just felt like I was getting to know how I got to be who I am.
Yeah.
That was what book did for me.
Yeah.
It was like, it helped me see how I got to be me. And that was huge.
Yeah.
Huge. That, and another thing, I told you they were playing.
That's why we're here. We're here for all the good stories.
Yeah. Another one was just that whole idea of, I just felt like it was all within me, that whole power part.
Mm-hmm.
The girls in the group used to laugh all the time because I always had to say something. It was like, all of a sudden, all I was seeing everywhere was power. This is my power. I am powerful. This is me. It was all there all the time.
Right.
But I had no clue. It was like, why did it take so long?
Yeah.
Well, I guess Kent had to be born and Heather had to be born, for this part of it to come. But it's like, when you're ready, there's a saying, something to the effect, when the student is ready, the teacher will come.
Yes.
Have you ever heard that before?
I have. I love that one.
Yeah. So it's kind of like that. It was like that for me.
Yeah, that's what someone else, I think Yoon was talking about. She's like, I think I came to it at the point where I was really ready.
Yeah,
I was really ready for it.
Yeah.
I love that.
I believe that.
Yeah. I love how that shift that happens in the I'm doing it to myself, because I talk with people sometimes and that can sometimes be taken with some sort of sense of fault or like judgment or accusation, and it can be almost really threatening at times. And when I first encountered it, I totally took it that way. I pushed it away so fast. But I was like, but there's something to this. Like I'm like, I think this might be true. And then to be able to connect to the power of it, what you're talking about, like, oh, I have the power then.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How has that like revelation, right, of like the power that you have, how has that changed things in your relationships with people?
Well, I think about the fact that I'm giving my power away when I allow, for example, things that other people say or do.
Yeah.
Influence the way that I feel, not influence the way that I feel, but the way that I respond to that situation.
Yeah.
It's like, I hadn't realized how much, one of the things about us having the power is that I get to take responsibility for it. It's not, I think in the book it talks about how it's not things that are outside of us.
Right.
And which is what happens when we give our power away, when we allow what people say or do to affect us in such a way that it causes us to, have all kinds of things. Yeah, I had a situation, and I use it a lot, but I had a situation recently. My husband and I had this little thing going. I won't really get into it because it's really long and big, but I knew that I needed to do mind change because of the way that I felt. I had a visceral reaction.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty an even-tempered person. I don't usually get really, really mad, but I was really, really mad that day. And I was like, oh, I need to go do some work. I was that angry.
Yeah.
And it surprised me to feel those feelings. And then I wondered, have I ever felt this angry before? You know? Again, there's this constant, I think in the beginning of the book it says that you can't unknow this stuff once you know, you learn it. Yeah. And that has been so true about everything. It's almost become, I measure everything against, you know, like what I'm learning. Right. And the way I've learned to do, you know, or to take care of things. Yeah. Instead of running away from issues, you know, it's like facing them head on. Yeah. Okay, let's take care of this, because I know that I'm the one that's in charge. Yeah. I'm the one that's creating the whole, you know, the outcome of the situation. Yeah. And it's, I can't even think of the word, but it doesn't excite me, but it makes me feel empowered. That's what it is. It makes me feel empowered to know that I have more control over myself, my life, situations, you know, than I used to know.
How did that help you, I'm curious, specifically in the pandemic? Did that affect things at all for you?
Well, first of all, we had time to be still and to learn. There wasn't a whole lot to get into during the pandemic. Right. I think I've been able to use it more outside of the pandemic. Okay. Because we couldn't go anywhere, of course. Right, right. But it was like I had time to sit in it. Yeah. You know, it's like to really think about things. Right. But again, that's why I think the book made such an impact on me, is because I'm real busy. You know, I join this, join that. You know, I go to the gym several times a week. You know, I do Bible studies. I do lots of different things. Yeah. You know, and so not being able to go anywhere, you know, I could really
get in touch with yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah. You know, it's like in the mornings, you know, I could sit down with that book, right, you know, and read for 3 hours, you know, or just kind of go back and forth, you know, with things. And plus doing the exercises. I think that made the biggest difference, because often when I read books that have questions in the back, a lot of times I'll skip the questions because I don't really have time, you know, read the book. I want to get to the end. Right.
We've been talking about that in each group. It keeps coming up about this idea of like the difference of I read, like just reading it, or as opposed to putting it into practice. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was able to really, really get it. And again, having the group, and listening to people's stories and being able to tell my own, it was a bonding experience, you know. And the place felt safe. We were in our own spaces, you know, our own homes, you know, and so I mean, you know, I was amazed at how close we got, because I didn't know a lot of the women in the group in the beginning. We were in different, you know, places and stuff, and it was just it's hard to explain. It's hard to explain if you weren't there, you know, or explain to people, you know. It's like, who does a book club like this, you know, like this. This was, and every person got something out of it. Yeah. Every person in the group grew. Yeah. You know.
That must be so cool to see too, because I know it's like you're dealing with, a lot of people are getting to face things from their past and change the way they understand that, right? Yes. And there's so much healing from that.
Absolutely.
But also you're getting to share in the joy of what you're moving to, like through the practicing the GPS, right? You guys are sharing in that gratitude and like, oh, here's what made me smile today, and the manifesto of like looking forward and changing the way you see yourself with all of that good stuff.
Yeah. I think probably even more than anything, it was the harder stuff that was the most gratifying, if that sounds kind of weird. For example, you know, working on the peonies, you know.
Yeah. Did you have anything that you feel like really changed? Like when you look back now in your past, you just see in an entirely different way?
Yeah, I do. Initially, one of the biggest things for me was when I remember when it's talking about rewriting your childhood.
Yes.
You know, that particular one. What that did for me, I didn't have a bad childhood. Some bad things happened. I was sexually molested when I was a young girl. And I think that when I decided to stuff it, when I decided to, you know, not talk about it, thinking it would just disappear or go away, I think I must have just stuffed all my childhood memories. And I mean literally.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember the simplest things, you know. I just didn't have a memory of being a little girl.
Right.
That was what, you know, what I came to realize. And I didn't really know that, except that I just didn't have those memories. People would talk about things and I think, oh, wow, you know, I just don't have them.
Yeah.
And I can remember doing that particular exercise and realizing, you know, my childhood was not bad, you know, but things happened, you know.
Right.
And as I started to write it out, you know, what I would like for my childhood to have been like.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, it was like this flood of memories, you know.
Yeah.
Like, and I mean, they kept coming and coming, not just that one time.
Right.
But, you know, it just seemed to, even now, I mean, the other day I was thinking, I thought of something, you know, because I was at home for one thing, but I thought of something that I hadn't thought of in about 65 or 70 years.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it was there.
Wow.
But it made me happy. It made me smile to have those childhood memories back. To be able to remember people and places, you know, and things. And it was like, hey, you know, it's like, I'm okay, you know. It's like, and I have been all along, but because of the way that I processed things before, that was who created that me. You know, and now I'm another me.
Yes, right.
How many of us are in here?
Well, it's like it was always there, but, you know, part of us gets a little bit blocked off. And so once you dealt with it, it was like all of who you really were.
And then some.
Yeah.
Like, oh my goodness, you know, it's like, well, you know, they better be glad that I'm, you know, past prime and all that stuff. There's no telling what.
I don't know. You're still like your prime to me, Brenda.
But I'm having the best time of my life in the sense that I have become more comfortable with who I am.
Yeah.
I like me, you know, a lot.
Yeah.
I've never not liked me, but I like me even more now.
Yeah.
It's just such a great time in life, period.
Yeah.
You know, and just to be able to share things that I'm learning, you know, with other people. And it's just almost comes so naturally because, you know, it's been, going on a little more than a year, you know, since I read Mind Change. And I've actually gone through it more than once. Yeah. You know, I've read it twice, and actually I refer back to it so much that it's like, I never stop reading. Right. You know?
Do you feel like that's a little bit of a change too? Like before Mind Change, before reading it, were you in such a flow? Like, did you share as readily, or was it a little bit different? And now it feels like that's unlocked.
Repeat that again.
You said because you've been practicing, right? Like after a year of doing this, you feel like it just like being able to share those good things just comes. Was it different before?
Well, I didn't know before what I know now.
Right.
You know, so, it was different. I'd like to think that I was trying to be the best me I could be. Yeah. For example, another book I read during pandemic was 40 Days to a Joyful Life. And I started reading it, and then it was like, okay, I can't do one a day. I need to do one a week because they had exercises to do also. Yeah. But what was amazing about it was the fact that it reminded me of Mind Change. You know, what it did was help me think. It uses Philippians 4:8. You know, that's the script. That's what it was about. But anyway, it was,
which is about like thinking about what's lovely
what is
and good
yeah,
and true,
all those things,
and
absolutely,
okay.
yeah. And that just made it even better.
Yeah.
It's like, because that thought was always there, you know, and
Yeah.
it's like, okay, and I'm learning how to do positive affirmations, you know,
Yeah.
and, you know, gratitude, all these things together,
Yeah.
you know, made it even more powerful.
Yeah.
And again, you know, I've always been, I think that I am naturally an encourager. That's just who I am,
Yeah.
always have been. And so it just enhanced the best parts of me.
I love that. I love that. It enhances the best parts of you. Yeah. Thank you so much for taking the time to come out and share with us your wisdom and your experience. And it's been really cool getting just to hear about all of what you have been through in the book club, and to see the like radiance coming out.
Oh, well, let me tell you, it was my pleasure. You know, it's just so neat to be able to share Mind Change with other people.
Yeah.
You know? I think the title, you know, can throw people off a bit. You know, they might think it's, you know, a lot more, you know, scientific or something. You know, but it's just really worth reading. You know, and I recommend it all the time.
Yeah.
You know, I can't wait for the next book club. So
that's great. Thank you, Brenda.
It was good to meet you, Mackenzie.
Very nice to meet you too.
Yeah.